The morning sun barely crested the hills when a sharp voice cut through the quiet of my ranch. "You've got 5 minutes to slide that barn door open, or we're calling in backup." The woman barked, one polished boot planted just inside my gate like she'd already claimed the place. Her neon vest snapped in the breeze, her clipboard quivering with self-righteous zeal. Her sidekick, a lanky guy with a plastic baton dangling from his belt, was busy snapping photos of my cows like they'd committed a felony. I stood there, a half-eaten biscuit in one hand, a mug of scalding coffee in the other, staring at these two strangers playing cop on my land. What in the hell were they thinking? I didn't say a word at first. Just let the silence stretch until a flicker of doubt cracked her smug grin. "Ma'am," I said, slow and steady, "you've picked the wrong gate to rattle. This is where the state sharpens its claws." They had no idea. Not a damn clue who they were messing with or where they stood. My name's Ethan Caldwell, and I don't talk much about the life I left behind before this ranch. No need. The open sky, the low hum of cattle, the rhythm of mending fences, that's my world now. But peace like that comes with a cost, paid in sweat, discipline, and one phone call I never thought I'd make again. The woman, later identified as Linda Harrow, strutted forward like she was running for mayor. She introduced herself as a compliance officer for the Pinewood HOA Enforcement Division. That raised my eyebrows. First, Pinewood's 20 miles down the road. Second, I don't live in a subdivision. My land's been in the family for 3 generations raw, open, no HOA, no cul-de-sacs, just barbed wire and dust. But Linda didn't care. She waved a laminated badge like it was a royal decree and rattled off violations. My barn's paint was non-compliant. My fences unapproved. My hay bales a VY soil hazard. I nearly spat my coffee at that one. Her partner, calling himself Officer Gregg, circled my truck like a vulture, pointing his phone at random things and muttering like he was filing a report. I asked what law they were citing. Linda smirked. "HOA regulations supersede local codes in our jurisdiction," she said, her voice dripping with nonsense so bold it almost deserved a standing ovation. I didn't argue. Not yet. I sipped my coffee, nodded, and texted my brother, Colonel Nathan Caldwell. He trains every state trooper in these parts. If you wear a badge around here, you've served VY vet his obstacle course or his classroom. And that course? It's right here. My ranch doubles as the State Police Academy's rural training ground. That barn Linda was eyeing? It's been stormed by cadets, used for hostage drills, and seen more action than most city precincts. She was demanding access to a tactical facility with a dollar store badge. Nathan's reply was short. "Hold tight. Don't engage. I'm on it." So I did what any good brother would. I kept her talking. Linda was thrilled to play queen, pulling out a manila envelope labeled compliance notices, and scribbling citations on the hood of her SUV. She glanced up, her eyes half pity, half menace. "These things get pricey if you don't play ball, Ethan. But we can work it out if you're reasonable." That nearly broke my calm. I looked her dead in the eye. "Ma'am, you might want to sit in your car and wait 5 minutes. This is about to turn into a training exercise, and I'd hate for you to be standing where the cruisers park." She blinked, confused, then went back to her forms with a tight smile. Gregg asked to inspect my irrigation. I asked if he had a warrant. He mumbled something about HOA safety protocols. I asked if he even knew what HOA stood for. He didn't answer, just fiddled with his vest like it made him official. Then it came the low growl of tires on gravel, the flash of red and blue against the barn's rusted siding. Linda froze mid-sentence. Gregg squinted like he'd seen a ghost. 4 state patrol cars rolled through the gate, followed by a black SUV with the Academy's crest. Dust swirled as Colonel Nathan stepped out, field uniform crisp, a VY-8ers hiding a stare that could peel paint. Linda's voice jumped an octave. "There's been a mistake. I'm just doing standard compliance work." Nathan didn't acknowledge her. He walked straight to me, handed me a fresh coffee, and only then turned to her. "Ma'am," he said low and cold. You're on state property without clearance, impersonating an officer, and issuing fake citations to a training facility. Put the clipboard down and keep your hands VY Seibel. Linda went rigid. Greg dropped his phone. An officer stepped forward, plucked Linda's badge from her neck, and flipped it over blank on the back. Another opened her envelope and snorted. Hey, bail hazard? Is that even a thing? The scene flipped from Linda's power trip to a courtroom farce. Greg stammered that he didn't know she wasn't legit. Linda tried pivoting, claiming she worked for a Borough Compliance at VY Sorry Group. Nathan cut her off. You're about to learn real rural compliance. Starting now. They split Linda and Greg like suspects in a crime drama. Linda clung to her clipboard, still spouting nonsense about my roof angle being prohibited. Officer Rachel, a former cadet, pried it from her hands and flipped through it like it was toxic. My name was misspelled. Fines ranged from $204, 204, uncontrolled vegetation, to $1,500 1,500 for the same issue elsewhere. Monopoly money for fake cops. Greg, meanwhile, was crumbling. His patrol kit in the SUV held rubber handcuffs, a toy walkie-talkie, and an ID labeled Neighborhood Watch Deputy in Sharpie. An officer held it up, shaking his head. Nathan circled their SUV, noting the fake emergency lights and a binder stuffed with patchwork HOA rules, some from local neighborhoods, others from different states, one even from Oregon. Handwritten notes in the margins screamed obsession. Weaponize this, test here next. It wasn't just a scam, it was a vendetta. Linda was cuffed, not arrested yet, but closed and put in a cruiser. Greg, sweating under a pecan tree, spilled everything. He wasn't a crook, he swore, just a guy promised $20 an hour. Linda told him they were filming a neighborhood crime documentary. Swore it was legit, said she had law enforcement contacts. He didn't know this was state land or that I was tied to the academy. He didn't know much, apparently, including that impersonating an officer, even badly, could land him in felony territory. Greg's phone told a darker story, photos from a dozen homes, Linda in her vest, clipboard raised, Greg posing as backup. Same script, same threats. Nathan and I walked the property as officers processed the scene. He asked if they'd entered any buildings. I said Linda had one hand on the barn door when the cruisers arrived. That was enough attempted trespass on a tactical site. Nathan noted it, muttering about a multi-jurisdictional investigation. Greg's phone, unlocked, held a folder labeled L Missions. It wasn't just my ranch. They'd scouted my neighbor's sheep farm, an old grain silo outside county lines, and chillingly, the porch of a retired trooper down the road. Linda targeted rural homes, banking on isolation and confusion to extort small payoffs, $50 here, $100 there. It worked until she knocked on my gate. By noon, the ranch was a command post. CIVYL affairs arrived, flipping through Linda's binder and laughing at a rule from a Vermont HOA. She went cross-country with this delusion, one agent said. Reporters caught wind, and drones buzzed overhead. Linda was escorted to a cruiser, no cuffs yet, but her bravado was gone. Greg, realizing his $20 gig might cost him a record, looked like he'd seen his future in handcuffs. Nathan stayed as the dust settled. We walked the fence line in silence, the sun dipping low. He paused by the barn, a smirk breaking through. I knew someone like her would try this eventually, he said. I raised an eyebrow. Why? Because people like Linda see fences and think they're keeping something in. They don't realize some fences keep people like her out. The next day, the story exploded. A local news clip showed the cruiser's arrival, Linda's vest glowing like a warning sign, Greg's baton dangling like a kid's toy. The headline read, Fake HOA patrol confronts rancher, stopped by state police. Calls flooded in from 3 counties, families fined for lawn chairs. A widow told her porch swing broke. VY Soul standards. None had my connections, none had fought back. Until now. Linda's background check revealed a failed application to Nathan's academy, rejected for forged credentials. This wasn't about HOAs, it was revenge. She'd built a fake empire from bitterness, and my ranch was her Waterloo. Greg turned over VY Diosaveri VY Sit, every threat, Linda calling herself Chief Inspector. She'd planned a reality show. Community Justice. With storyboards like Episode 3, Rogue Rancher Reformed. The internet pounced. Linda's Step Away from the Barn became a dubstep remix, a MOVYE trailer, a TikTok skit with a toy car and a chicken. A Cadets parody hit 4 million VYUs. Nathan gave a rare press conference deadpan. Hey, bails aren't hazards. Verify credentials. The crowd chuckled. He didn't. Linda's arraignment was a spectacle. She walked into the pine-scented courthouse, beige jumpsuit replacing her vest, her lawyer trailing like he'd drawn the short straw. The gallery was packed, drawn by VY Rao VY Deos and small-town gossip. Charges included impersonation, trespass, and fraud, with more pending for harassment. Her defense claimed it was a misunderstood community VYC. Her vest. Theatrical. But the prosecutor had her on tape. This is a state-authorized warning. The judge, suppressing a smirk at her show pitch, denied bail. Linda left in silence, her reflection fading on the polished floor. Life on the ranch settled, but the echo lingered. Cadets reinforced the barn door, calling it a property law lesson. Nathan added an impersonation protocol to training, using Linda's stunt as a case study. I added cameras, not from fear but for clarity. Letters arrived farmers, widows, retirees who'd faced Linda or her ilk, too scared or ashamed to fight. Her arrest gave them courage. Some filed complaints, others spotted copycat patrols. Linda hadn't just scammed, she'd inspired. A news crew tried to follow up. I sent them packing. This wasn't their story. It belonged to every homeowner who doubted a knock at the door, every officer pro-VYing their badge. The cadets gave me a plaque. Honorary Compliance Instructor. With a carved version of Linda's fake patch. I nailed it to the barn, a dusty trophy. One morning, I found a plastic badge by the fence, Greg's name scrawled on it. I left it on a post, not a warning, but a reminder. Authority isn't a costume. It's earned, hour by hour, in the quiet places where truth speaks louder than uniforms. I poured a coffee, sat back, and watched a real patrol car pass. The driver, a new cadet, honked. I tipped my hat. Justice doesn't roar. It echoes, steady and sure, long after the dust settles.